Guess what? He's not going to get Tommy John next year.
He's already gone. I was thinking that in my head. He's already got that major injury out of the way.
Done. Like, I don't need to worry about, oh, man, is he going to get Tommy John 2025? No, not at all. Now, Can I say the same thing about Pepiot and Bradley? Nah, fam. I can't put my hand on the fire for that. So I think that's a huge factor of why you could put your hand in the fire for Shane Baz and maybe not for Bradley or Pepiot.
You are Locked On Rays, your daily Tampa Bay Rays podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Rays, your daily podcast covering everything Tampa Bay Rays. From game analysis to player interviews, we've got you covered with all the latest news and insights. My name is Kevin Weiss.
I'm Ulises Sambrano,
bringing you expert analysis and passionate discussions about our beloved Rays.
Whether you're a diehard fan who vividly remembers Longo's Game 162 just like us,
or you remember the early Devil Ray days of Wade Boggs and Carl Crawford,
we're here to break down every play, every trade, and every milestone. In fact, this is our 6th season covering the Rays daily.
In every season up till 2024, they've gone to the playoffs. The regular season is over, but there is still playoff baseball, so that gives you a little extra excuse to still grab your favorite Rays gear, settle in, and subscribe to our Locked On Rays YouTube channel and other podcast platforms. You can also find us on X and Instagram at Locked On Rays.
You know that this episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Start the season with a big return on FanDuel. Place your first $5 bet, and you'll get started with a $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com to get started.
All right. Well, Ulises, the Rays took 2 of 3 from the Boston Red Sox up in Fenway. They won Friday 2-1. Saturday 7-2. Oh my gosh, an offensive explosion. That's always nice. And few and far between this year. And then Sunday, they cap off game 162 with a 3-1 loss. And the Rays' 2024 record is 80-82. So they didn't get to 500. They did not get to above 500, but they got to 80 wins. So there's that.
There's that third time in Kevin Cash's managerial career with the Rays that he finishes the season 80-82. 2015, 2017, and now 2024, 80-82. I think this weekend, my main point was, hey, 3 more games. You've got the 3 young studs getting on the mound. Enjoy what they can provide him. And basically, they all did their job. I mean, Bradley was magnificent on Friday evening. Shane Baz then comes back on Saturday and does a tremendous effort. And, with Pepiot, I think, they took him out at 68 pitches. They're the whole rolling his ankle on the mound. I feel like they would have given him a little bit more of a longer leash if it wasn't this exact context. The rolling of the ankle, this game means nothing.
Yes.
I think that's why it factored into him being taken out. But the main point of this weekend was how good we have it in the starting pitching rotation with years to come. It's just everything else needs to be tightened up.
Yeah. Let's build around that pitching staff. You have that in place. That's a no-brainer. Now let's get some help so we're not having to fight 2-1 games and 3-2 games. And I think hopefully in 2025, we see more of what we saw on Saturday than what we saw on a Sunday or a Friday even, where you have to scrape together a run here, run there to get the W. But you really should be excited if you're a Rays fan. Just the combination of Bradley, Baz, Pepiot, and there's a lot more in the pipeline as well. Guys that will be healthy in 2025, guys that will be productive in 2025, and they all bring their own pizzazz to the table. I mean, Bradley on Friday, that might have been the best out of the group over the course of the weekend. 6 scoreless innings, 7 strikeouts, 1 walk. Then the bullpen cleans it up after that. He is the 3rd pitcher in Rays history to have 150 strikeouts in age 23 or younger. And if you look at some of the highlights and clips from Bradley's outing, it was just peppering the bottom of the zone and inducing ground balls, strikeouts, bottom of the zone, ground balls, and he went to work with that. The cutter and the splitter, the combination of that, and just getting opposing hitters to swing above it and be befuddled by it is really a sight to see. And as I said last week or a couple weeks ago, it's good that these guys aren't, falling apart in the dog days of summer. They're still showing life at the end of the season, which is what you're going to need hopefully next season going into the playoffs, that that you can still have them at 90-95% for an October run.
They say it's very important for young guys to understand what a playoff chase is. I think it's just as important to get them to understand what underperformance and like how close you really were to get in to the dance and you didn't, and how just a few games would have changed this whole circumstance. Now, I'm not saying with that the Rays would have gone to the playoffs and won the whole thing. It might have been just a 2022, 2023 scenario where you get in and then you get booted out real quick. But regardless, like that's, I think that's a very important experience for the Pepiots, the Bradleys, the Bazes to go, okay, well, that didn't really work. But you saw some evolution from Bradley, speaking with him individually. Like it's, if you look at it, what he did in 2023, and then you look at 2024, there was an actual growth. I mean, he won Best Pitcher of the American League in July. And before then, he was, fantastic as well in June. But you still see some growth needing to happen. And what better way to close out the season that when kind of disappointing than seeing these three young guys take the mound and hopefully – take a little bit of growth from what happened in 2024 beyond.
And it's tough to say, and it's not necessarily fair, but I'll bring it up regardless. Out of Bradley, Baz, Pepiot, who do you have the most confidence in a Rays uniform 2025 and beyond? Or maybe we can just take 2025. Who's going to really take the push, take the lead, and say, okay, that's I hope all three guys are legit and they do what needs to be done and showed what they've shown this year. But the guy that you can put your hand on the fire for as he's going to dominate next season.
I'm going to go with Shane Baz. And I don't think you have a wrong choice here with either of the three guys that you mentioned, but I'm going to go with Shane Baz because of two things. Number one, that delivery is so repeatable. It's nuts.
Right.
It's crazy. It's copy paste, and it just looks so easy for him to just throw 97. It's crazy. I love the delivery. Shane Baz that's my number one factor. The second factor is, and this might be a little bit of a pessimist take, but guess what? He's not going to get Tommy John next year.
He's already gone. I was thinking that in my head. He's already got that major injury out of the way.
Done. Like, I don't need to worry about, oh, man, is he going to get Tommy John in 2025? No, not at all. Now, Can I say the same thing about Pepiot and Bradley? Nah, fam. I can't put my hand on the fire for that. So I think that's a huge factor of why you could put your hand in the fire for Shane Baz and maybe not for Bradley or Pepiot.
No, I'm with you. I really like Shane Baz, and of course, no bad outing from him on Saturday. 6 innings pitched, 7 strikeouts, 1 walk, 2 earned runs. And what I liked about his outing too on Saturday was he is a guy that has so much confidence, composure, and poise. He can give a first inning dinger over the green monster to Tristan Casas, and it doesn't faze him. He's like, okay, I can still do work. 1 run. That doesn't matter. That's okay. Where you see, and I know he's a little bit, I don't want to say older, but he's a little bit more experienced, a couple seasons with the Rays now. But you see a lot of young pitchers, they give up that 1 run and it turns into 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, what have you. And he is a guy who has 4 legit pitches that he probably is okay with using at any time in any count. But when it came to the 2 strikes on Saturday, that curveball was just insane. And then he trickled in the fastball as well. But I feel like he could have just said, with 2 strikes, told the hitter, hey, you're getting a curveball and you're going to swing and miss at it. It's almost like it was expected and they still couldn't do anything with it.
early in Glasnow's career with the Rays and Shane McClanahan, they were those guys. They let in a run. They something happened, and then you could see the body language just go 180, and then they were out of the game mentally. They were out of it. Now, could they have gotten themselves back into the game? Maybe sometimes, but usually you saw the downturn in mood and body language and performance because they're still thinking about that dinger. Shane Baz did not do that. I agree with you 100%. He's just got poise. He looks like a veteran out there. Right. That's my pick. So if I were to put some green Skittles on, hey, between those three guys, who's going to have the best 2025 season, I would say Shane Baz. You'd say Shane Baz. But where do we go to put those green Skittles at, Kevin?
Well, one place we could go to is FanDuel, and it is NFL season. So, hey, NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. That is America's #1 sports book. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. So good, I'll repeat it again. You want to get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. Where do you do that at? That's FanDuel.com. We also want to tell you to make the switch to Locked On Sports Today. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't miss analysis, opinions, and news streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, so some good summary there on the Rays starting pitching outings, and it's unfortunate that Pepiot couldn't go 6 innings like Baz and Bradley, but we saw some good things from him on Sunday. And then Mason Montgomery coming in and doing some work as well. Maybe that's something that the Rays rely on or go to during parts of the season in 2025. We had a mailbag question last week on, hey, could you go to a 6-man rotation? What's the possibility or the likelihood of that? Well, you could also do some, I don't know what you qualified as a tandem start, or just insert some long reliever types, whether that's Montgomery, getting Drew Rasmussen built up, getting Jeffrey Springs built up, what have you. But you have a lot of arms that you can do some creative tinkering with in and out, especially if a guy is only able to go, hey, I'm feeling 70% today. I can only go 4 2/3 or 5.
Mason Montgomery sounds like a good candidate for the Wade Davis, Colin McHugh role. The 2 innings every 3 games. Put me in, coach. I mean, he's got really nasty stuff, and I think one of the coolest things about September. I'm just thinking maybe we should do that kind of episode. Like, what were the coolest things that we saw in the season, like late in the season, especially?
Yes, we have a lot of off-season content because we don't have any more live race baseball happening.
Yeah. So on the YouTube comments, I know the prompt on the video is, if you need to make only 1 point about the 2024 season, what would it be? Write that in the comments. But also, if you've got some topic ideas, we would certainly welcome those. But I think if you do that list in September, the coolest things was Mason Montgomery getting that call up and being able to see what he's got. Because I think, is it too early to say that he should be a shoo-in for the Rays bullpen in 2025? Is it too early, or did we see enough?
I think we've seen enough. And I guess it's one of those good problems to have because you have a lot of other guys available and productive, but I know there's going to be some arbitration figures that the Rays are going to have to mull through and determine with that. So he's a cheap option and hopefully a reliable option from the left side as well.
But let me just talk a little crap here. We also thought Kevin Kelly was going to be in the opening day roster, and this is a guy who had a fantastic 2023 season. He follows it up with 2024. And the front office decided not to go with Kevin Kelly in the opening day roster instead of having guys like Jacob Wagaspak and Chris Davinsky in the opening day roster instead of a guy like Kevin Kelly. So, we saw really good stuff from Mason Montgomery, but maybe he does get the Kevin Kelly treatment of like, not yet, son.
Yeah, that's fair. So your takeaway from the weekend was starting pitching performance, and it was a sight to see. Of course, my takeaway is more 30,000-foot view. I'm already looking at the offseason, and trust me, we're going to dive into topics galore when it comes to that front. But I first want to read a quote from Eric Neander, and I want to get your take on this because my thought is, well, the team finished 80-82. That is not up to par of what we've seen over the last half dozen years or so.
Sure.
So I would think that there's more questions, decisions to make in the offseason. But here's what Neander said in an interview, quote, "It wouldn't surprise me if we do very little this offseason. It wouldn't surprise me if we do a lot," he says. "But there will be a desire to win games at a more frequent clip than what we did this year, and also make sure that in the process, we're continuing to strengthen ourselves for having some really optimistic seasons in the near future."
Oh my gosh. Like no wonder we're on in election season, because that was the most politicky question quote.
Yes.
You could so like can
it could be yes, it could be no. I'm not really sure.
Could we just break that quote down? Okay. The first sentence: "It wouldn't surprise me if we do very little. It wouldn't surprise me if we do a lot." So it washes itself out. That sentence meant nothing. It was gray. It was beige. It was nothing. Okay. Next.
That just filled up some lines on column or Topkins' column or whatever.
Yeah. He had to say something, so he goes, washes out. Okay. So that first sentence is nothing. Let's see the next two sentences. Sentence number 2: "But there will be a desire to win games at a more frequent clip than we did this year. We want to win more." Yeah. Us too, Eric. Thank you for that. Third sentence: "And also make sure that in the process, we're continuing to strengthen ourselves for having some really optimistic seasons in the near future." So you just want to know that you're going to get better, so you have better seasons in the future. I'm sorry. That quote is the most. This is why I talked about this, Kevin, 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago. I don't remember when it was. Quotes in sports journalism is just the worst.
Yes.
And it's in every sport. It's in football, it's in basketball, it's in soccer, and it's in baseball. They are nothing quotes. Eric Neander, he's a very smart guy, incredibly smart guy. And because he's smart, he can get away with stuff like this, which is a word salad, a soup of letters that means absolutely zero.
Eric Neander will never have a problem going viral because he keeps his cards to his vest. I guess that's redeemable if you're Rays communications and so forth. I think the last time, just to go on a side note here, the last time that somebody with the Rays went viral for something they said would have been, I mean, just off the top of my dome here, Kevin Cash saying, well, we have a bunch of guys that throw 98 too. And it turned into the Tampa Bay 98ers thing. That's the one that really sticks out in my head and mind. Unfortunately, the Rays were in the playoffs or close to the playoffs. They were guaranteed to be in the playoffs when that quote was said, but I'll just leave it at that. But with Neander's comment, I do want to mention some things that are top of mind for me of action that should shake what 2025 will look like. But before we get to that, Ulises, I think we have to tell the audience something important.
Yes, we do. And, everybody knows that if you need to get some tickets, you go to Game Time. You download the app. Why? Because they've got everything. If you want to do comedy, theater, sports, concert, Game Time has this all. My favorite part about Game Time, you guys know it, is the seat view. You get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy. And they also have Game Time ticket coverage, which means that your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. So today, take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Kevin, what time is it?
It's game time.
It's game time.
All right. So here's kind of what I'm honing in on this offseason. And I'm sure we'll be diving much more into this into the offseason again, long offseason, folks. But
before you say this, have you shared this list with your now best friend Stu Sternberg?
I have not, but I will. After the show, I will text him immediately.
Okay, cool.
Or he'll listen to it and hear the list and react as such.
Right.
No particular order, but I'm just going to throw out a podium of sorts. One that we have, one item, A, B, C, however you want to list it. Wander Franco. We need some resolution to that. I know that recently a judge ruled that the case can proceed to trial. But what's going to happen? Is he going to be guilty? Is he going to get off? Well, we know his future with the Rays. He's not going to play in a Rays uniform. But more importantly is what happens to that chunk of $172 million buckaroos. Are the Rays on or off the hook for that? Hopefully off the hook, so that gives them some flexibility in the years to come. But it's now been, a year and 2 months, close to, since the news on Wander broke, and there's been so many updates that I don't care to digest a timeline. I just want it done and over with. So I'll throw that out there.
It has to be done and over. And before folks are like, what do you mean he's never going to play for the Rays? Kevin, could you enlighten folks why you have such a strong take, which I share, of why he's not going to be playing with the Rays anymore?
Well, the first thing is the sourcing that I have from somebody that works in the Rays says that it's a done deal. And I guess the PR hit, bad teammate, and that's it, basically.
You're done, folks. So I know there's like a small section of Rays fans that still believe that he's going to be playing. He's not. And we need to move on as a fandom that it's not going to happen. Take that out. He doesn't exist. It's not happening.
Yeah. So sell your jersey while you can.
Yeah.
Or exchange it or whatever. Another item on the docket is what happens to Jose Siri.
Wait, before that, you know what really, you're right. Exchange your stuff. If you can't, still exchange your stuff.
Oh, okay. So put it in order.
Yeah, don't have that, Franco jersey in your closet, people.
Yeah.
Go ahead and just go and get that out of there.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. I actually I think it was at a game this season that I saw somebody wearing that, believe it or not.
I think I was with you.
Yes. Crazy.
Nice.
So the next thing is Jose Siri's future with the team. So he's first time eligible for arbitration this season. People expect him to make in the $2 to $3 million range. We know about Siri's story. He's talented, he's exciting, but he's extremely frustrating and inconsistent. He has power, but he strikes out a ton. He swings and misses a ton, doesn't get on base. And yes, he makes unbelievable 5-star catches, but he also can be a malcontent and gets benched multiple times for not doing what needs to be done to stay on the field. So I will be curious to see if he doesn't return. So that's one thing. And maybe, I guess this would be my number one big podium item is the bat situation. How are the Rays going to add an impact bat or multiple impact bats? If we're being honest, you probably need an outfielder, you probably need an infielder, and you definitely need a right-handed catcher. But do they go out in free agency and do that, or do they do the trade route, or a combination of both? If they do the trade route, something we've discussed previously and might be a likely scenario, is trading from their starting pitching stock. And if they do that, who is that going to be, or who is that group going to be? And if you look at it, 3 guys that we just talked about in the first segment, Pepiot, Baz, and Bradley, I don't think there's any question that they would drum up the most return. And you could include like Shane McClanahan and things like that. But those guys would definitely get eyes opened wide from opposing organizations. But I think if you're the Rays, you keep that group. You don't touch those guys. Now it gets a little bit more interesting when you talk about, say, a Jeffrey Springs, who will have his salary basically double from this year to next year.
Yep.
And then Zach Littell, whose arbitration figure could jump from 1.85 mil to 5 mil. So that's what I just wanted to put forward is however you have to do it, you need to insert some competent offense into this organization. And I guess an addendum to this is I think you have to do everything you can to keep Brandon Lau and Yandy Diaz with the 2025 team, because to me, it doesn't do you any good to trade one or both those guys and add an impact bat or two, and you're more or less in the same situation. I would think that you want to add on to your two best hitters as of right now, and the only way to do that is spending money or trading a pitcher or two.
100% agree with the fact that if you want to have some impact bats, you have to add, and you cannot get rid of Brendan Lau and Yandy Diaz. Now, if they were in another position, as in like they were going to free agency or they were getting way too expensive, then okay, you might want to rethink that. But neither of those things are the case. You have options on both players, and they're incredibly affordable. Even as a Tampa Bay Ray fandom, you shouldn't be saying Brendan Lau for $10 million, Yandy Diaz for $10 million. Yeah, you're like, yeah, I would pay that. Let's do it. And then when you add another guy, an impact back or another one, two, hopefully.
Yes.
Now you can see a core of these two new guys plus Brendan Lau, plus Yandy Diaz. You got hopefully a Josh Lowe that can turn it back up to 2023 or close to it performance. And then you've got hopefully the face of the franchise in Junior Caminero. That's 6 already there. And if you improve the catching position, well, okay, then you no longer have a black abyss of depression hitting in the lineup, which would be really nice to have. So I agree with you 100%. If you're adding, it would seem counterintuitive to also take out your best two hitters, because let's be frank here. If you take April away from Yandy Diaz's season in 2024, he's had 5 straight months of really good baseball, like a 300 average, a 350 on base, over a 400 slugging. Like, he has been a really, really good player, except for April. So you can't do that. And Brendan Lau, yeah, he got hurt, but he still produced in the 100-plus games that he was. Also, your first point, or your second point, rather, with Jose Siri, I think you have to make a decision between Jose Siri and Taylor Walls. Enough.
One
you
or the
can't
other.
carry both. It's one or the other. It is one or the other. It's kind of like Harry Potter. Neither can live while the other survives.
Right.
You can't have Harry and Voldemort in the same world. You can't have Walls and Siri in the same lineup. Enough.
Yeah. Well, I think what would attract the Rays to Taylor Walls is the fact that, because Siri basically only plays center field. I mean, I guess he could step out of his comfort zone and play the corners, but with Walls, you know, you in a pinch, you got him at 3 positions there. So that'll definitely be an off-season topic for sure. But yeah, and then going back to the starting pitching, I mean,
wait before that, quick trivia: how many games at non-shortstop did Taylor Walls play in 2024?
I would say fewer than previous.
By the way, he played 84 games. He played 84 games. How many games of those was he not a shortstop?
10.
Strike 1, 2, and 3. He played out of those 84 games, 83 at shortstop, and 1 silly game at DH.
All right, then maybe my point can be retracted there. That they're really only have ideations of plugging him in at
interesting, right? Because if he's a really good glove and he can handle a shortstop, what happened to third and second? Caballero?
Yeah. Well, my other thought with that too is just kind of the synapses firing. That my original idea was, hey, you're not having to move around to 3 different positions. That allows you to settle in offensively as opposed to learning the nuances of second and third. And he's been a shortstop his entire life. Nope, that didn't happen. So
didn't help.
I'll give him one more chance. Drop the switch hitting thing, and see if that makes any change.
You would still carry on year 5 with Taylor Walls. You still would be okay with that. God,
I wouldn't say I'd be okay with that. I would say I wouldn't be surprised if the Rays go that route.
Fair. Yeah. That's okay. That's a good addendum. I wouldn't be surprised if the Rays go, no, we can have more Taylor Walls in our lives. I wouldn't be surprised. And I also wouldn't be surprised if they go, Jose Siri, come on, give me the 20 home runs and the 650 OPS. We want that and an excellent defense. But we will bench you 2 times a year.
Right. There we go. So yeah, maybe the Rays pull a little trade off with the Blue Jays, get Bo Bichette, maybe trade a Jeffrey Springs or a Zach Littell, something thereof, and then you can
Fairbanks.
Yeah, something, and then
they need a bullpen help. They need bullpen help over there in Toronto.
You can extend or see if Rasmussen can make that transition back to starter, maybe lengthen out Montgomery. And it's not above the Rays to say, okay, we will go out in the free agent market and sign a veteran pitcher starter for a 1 year, $6 million deal to kind of add some more backflow and some depth into that rotation. But something has to give because historically bad offense, you're going to be in the same position as you are this year, next year, if you don't do much of anything to address it. You can't just wait until Carson Williams is ready or Trey Morgan's ready or Xavier Isaac is ready. I mean, you can, but tell us that, be upfront about it and say, hey, we're really not in the position or don't feel like spending money on temporary fixes. We're just going to play the string out and call these guys up in late summer.
And maybe that's what that quote actually means. And this is how we all bring it together. They still don't know what they want to do. They still don't know if they're going to go big and get the bats and then just play with the pitching that they have, or they go, hey, guess what? 2026, our young guys could possibly graduate, and that's when we really have a window opening. And 2025 is just another reboot 80-win type of season. Maybe that's where they haven't, decided yet in that front office.
Well, a lot of it is Eric Neander and company going to Stu Sternberg is, how much money do we have to spend, sir? Oh, we have $0 to spend. Okay, then I guess that is our course of action, is to not do much of anything and just wait for the young guys to get promoted to the big league level. But in all honesty, you dumped $45-50 million in a matter of moments this summer. I would think that you can do some maneuvering to uplift.
You need home runs. You need home runs. You need outfield
help. If the issue is spending money, then okay, fine. Trade Jeffrey Springs and trade Zach Littell. I mean, if you have to swap $15 million for $15 million, I'm willing to do what needs to be done to see a team that can, average 4 runs per game.
But again, let's make the point. If you take away Brendan Lau and Yandy Diaz and then just put an Anthony Santander, which I would love to have Tony Taters in the lineup, Venezuelan bump, it does nothing to you to have Santander in the lineup.
It's a zero-sum game, basically, at that point.
It's a zero-sum game, exactly. Like, you need those guys can still produce. Yandy and Bilal, they're still affordable, even in Rays terms. You can't take those guys out and then just be like, oh, we got a bat here. Or depending on who they get back, though. If Yandy Diaz and Brendan Lau can bring some bats that are young and controllable, maybe that's a way to do it. Yeah. But even then, they're not proven, the guys that are going to be coming back.
Plus, you have the unknown of, say you get a guy who has comparable stats, but you trade a Brandon Lau or Yandy Diaz, and maybe taking Tony Taters out of the equation, but say you get a guy from the AL West or the Central or something like that. Mm-hmm. How are they going to handle the AL East? How are they going to handle playing in Boston and Yankee Stadium? And can they, not everybody performs well in the Trop for some reason. Mm-hmm. So how can you gel in that environment? It all needs to be factored in. So a lot of decisions to be made. And that's a long way or a short way of putting it.
Can we say goodbye to the crowd just like Eric Neander would?
Yes.
We will see you tomorrow. We might not see you tomorrow. We will have a good time with you tomorrow. We might not have a good time with you tomorrow. The sky will be blue. The sky will be gray. Who knows?
Who knows? Yep. In the meantime, though, with that, thank you for making the Locked On Rays podcast, your first listen every day. For your second listen, find Locked On MLB. Prepare for the Fall Classic, Sans Rays, with Soli, our buddy, who has it all covered every single day. Find Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. And we will talk to you maybe tomorrow, maybe not. We'll have to ask Eric about that.